5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, this is lesson 3 and we're going to basically continue on. I'm trying to keep these videos under around 15, maybe 20 minutes at the most, so you don't get bored to death watching them, and you can complete one in a single sitting. So anyway, the next area we're going to cover is our spark. Spark is as critical as fuel trims when it comes to tuning. The two go hand in hand. We're not going to talk about adjusting spark or anything at this point. We're only going to get our table set up. So if you look at the default tables, they're actually okay to a point, but they don't actually scale correctly. So they use HP Tuner's default uses manifold absolute pressure in kPa, which is MAP, but the actual spark tables use air charge. So if they're not scaled correctly, you won't know how it's actually, it's going to be wrong, okay? So I'll just leave it at that. We're just going to say the scales are wrong. They're not going to be happening when you think they're happening. They won't relate over here to anything. We're going to set them up a couple of different ways. So spark advance and spark retard, basically, if we go to their graphs layout, you'll see that they are engine speed, which is fine. But is this scaled correctly? Likely not. And then manifold absolute pressure, of course, this is not scaled correctly. So, but the basic setup, and it's wrong. Spark retard has a high value of 10, but your spark retard is always going to be in negative values, otherwise it's not going to be retard. So we have to do some work here, but we'll get that straightened out once we get our first table set up. So we're going to go ahead and just eliminate that spark retard one, and we'll leave spark advance here because it's kind of a decent setup. It's kind of there. Yeah, spark advance is always going to be advanced, so 10 and 40. High value is a little bit low, but we can set that differently. So the first thing we need to do is go look at what we're logging, and if we go and close this real quick, we'll go over here and look at our spark to see what kind of spark we're logging. So we'll scroll down here and we're looking at knock on this side here and then spark here. So we log it all and then we log our misfires too. Those are important to log. So you have your actual spark, total spark correction, timing advance, which was spark advance. MBT advance, that's your maximum brake torque. Your base part throttle advance, very important. Coolant advance, intake air temp advance, barometric advance. EGR advance, we'll log it, but you don't have an EGR valve, so it's here because I want to see if it's ever going to report anything. It was interesting that I found it. I'm going, well, hey, we don't have EGR valves. So, but they do it on the trucks. So, yeah, that's probably why it's in there. I just got it stuck there for now. I'm going to leave it. And then I have my total misfire. So for our advanced side of things, the house, we're going to log everything except for the EGR. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to go back over to our VCM editor. We're going to go to engine. And we're going to go to spark. Now, MBT is over here. You rarely touch anything in MBT. And all we're going to explain right now is our logging. So we know our part throttle is probably the most critical. That's where you're going to be most of the time. So all we have to do is just get the labels, the row and the axis labels, and we need to verify that we are seeing this in air charge. If you don't see it in air charge, It's likely that you're in the wrong table. Okay, we can actually knock this down. I don't know if you know about this, but you don't need 5 digits on this. They only use 2 digits. It's a fresh load. I don't know why I did that, but excuse me. So what we need to do right now is do what we did before. We're gonna, oops, you don't need to do that. Right click, get your column axis and copy those labels. Go back over here. We'll open the graphs layout. Go to our column axis and we're gonna just delete all that. And then we'll paste our column axis in there. And you can see they are different. And then we'll go back, we'll just delete that guy out of there. We'll get our row axis. Oop. That's what happens if you click outside of that corner. Copy those labels for our row axis. And go back here, paste those in. And now we have our row axis in, which is correct. So manifold absolute pressure, we know that is incorrect. We do have air charge that we are logging. So all we need to do is go over here and go air charge. Oops. And there's our air charge. It is in mass. That's the one you want. And the mass is going to be in milligrams or grams. Okay, so if we go back over to our table, we'll see that our spark tables are in grams. It's very important that you make sure that this is changed to grams and not milligrams. Otherwise, it will not scale properly. So that is our advance. I'm going to set the upper limit to 45. And the color, I'm going to make it green. Okay. And then the low color, let's go to red so it kind of scales pink to green, green to pink. Most of it's going to be green all the time. Decimals, we'll put in 1. Remember, we're setting this up for all at the same time. So this, once we have this done, all we have to do is duplicate it. So we have our first one finished, and now we can duplicate this. And I'm just going to make a bunch of them, not even counting. The next one we want to get is our so on the Spark Advance, we don't want to use this. This is a generic sensor. So we're going to change that to actual spark. Excuse me, timing advance. And we'll use the, we pulled the SAE version. That's what we're going to use here. And no, do not use the generic. You know what you're doing. Okay. So we can move this out of the way to see if we've got anything. And of course we do. There you go. So it's pulling timing in some cases. Now you get this down here. You see these like that? That's because we probably have got something, one of our limiters, incorrect. You could expand this out. It's not going to show those cells, so we've got to change something in our limiters. That's a negative, and it's, of course, obviously not allowing for negatives because we didn't put a negative in there. So our low value has to change to -10. Okay. Oops, I've got equal to -10. And now you can see your negatives. So I just wanted to show you how that works. You'll never get more than 10 degrees of retard. Okay. That one's 32 because that is at startup. I don't know why it's, yeah, that's kind of weird. But that is startup, key off, engine on. And so those high values on the retard here is, that's garbage. You don't need it. So that's just going to be named timing advance, and that's your spark. What we're going to say here is ADVANCE, so we know that's spark advance. Now the next one here that we're going to get is our actual spark. And we'll go get that. And so, so that's the only one available. That's it right there. 45. So the low value again, we change to -10 so we can see it. And the next one we're going to get, this is going to be renamed actual spark. And then the next one we're going to get is our timing advance, our total spark correction. And so we'll get that one. And we'll name that spark correction. And the next one we'll get will be our MBT advance. So that's MBT advance. And then we'll go get our coolant advance, just in case we need it. Probably never going to see anything in there, but we'll get it anyway. So we'll get our coolant advance. We're going to use all this stuff eventually. Because it's important to know when this stuff is happening. And it's conditions you want to watch. It's basically stuff you're going to need for analysis. You may not ever use it, but you'll have it. You don't have to set it up again. And we'll show you how to save that whole graph so that you can always replace it. So the next one we're going to go grab is IAT advance. That's your intake air temp advance. That's kind of important. There's certain things that will cause your torque to be affected, so that you'll say that you're capable of making 400 foot-pounds of torque, but you may be only getting 300 something. A lot of times you'll find it the torque model is controlling your timing advance. And so the next one we're going to get, if you don't monitor this stuff, you won't see it, but the next one we're going to get is our baro advance. So it's going to be BAROAD, baro advance, and that's your barometric advance. That's your environmental. So when you change altitudes, it will advance. Actually, it's going to be normally the higher altitude you are, it's going to pull timing. So it's really a retard, but we'll leave it as it is called for the moment, as baro advance. And EGR advance we don't want to see because we don't have that. At this point, we're going to get our total misfires because we want to see that here. It's a good place to look for them here. So we'll go total misfires, and we have that. And go ahead and name that out because there's room to put that in there. The next one we're going to get are our NOx sensors. We have NOx sensor 1 and NOx sensor 2. Okay, so before we do that, it's pretty easy to see that we're probably going to need a couple of more of these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and clone a couple of more while I'm here. So at this point, let's actually get our total knock retard first. We're going to start up here and go down this list. And this is going to be a lot of tables, but it's pretty easy to bounce around and make decisions. you can look at this and look at that, and you can make your decisions from it. If you want, you could actually split it out to another whole entire table, which you can do. It's not a problem. We're going to show you how to save these because all this work, we don't want it going down the tube. So we're going to go over here and we're going to get our total knock retard. Yep. No, don't do that. Okay, and we can modify this stuff later. It's got the high value at 45. That's going to be wrong. We'll adjust those once we look at them. So actually, for total knock retard, high value is going to be 0. Mid value is -5. Low value is going to be -10. All right, you can reverse that. It's just a matter of how you want to do it. So total knock retard, total KR is fine. You could actually spell that out. If you wanted to, you can expand that window a bit. We can just call it RET. That way it fits. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is knock retard short term. There's 2 versions of that here that I'm logging. One of them is knock retard short term, and then we have knock retard long term. So we're going to, like I said, there's going to be a lot of stuff in here. We're not going to look at the window start and the wide open throttle FA multiplier because that's a fuel air multiplier. We'll actually log that elsewhere. So right now we're just going to get our knock retard short term. And let's see, make that 0, 0, -5, -10, and then we can get the next one, which is going to be knock retard long term. Now, when we look at knock retard long term, that's what's going to be stored in your in the neural network. So and that's going to be LT retard, long-term retard. That's fine. We'll leave that like that. 0. And we can change these if we've got them upside down or something. Not a big deal. So the next and last one, now the last 2 we're going to get is our knock sensors. Knock sensors are going to be in voltage. High voltage on those is 4, and mid value is 2.5, and low value is 0. So what I'm going to do, now that I've got that one, I'm going to clone it, and then I don't have to make those number changes again. And we're going to go over here, and this is our knock sensors, okay? So our knock sensors, people say don't log them because you're just chasing things. That is, I don't believe that myself. I can't spell. I believe it's definitely worth logging them. And so we'll get the last one here. Yeah, I can't spell. Knock sensor 2. This is bank 1 and bank 2. Knock sensor 1 is on the driver's side. Knock sensor 2 is on the passenger side. That correlates to bank 1 and bank 2. So, okay, so we still need one more, and this is going to be our misfires. And so we'll clone that one there, and we want total misfires. And, oops, you know what? I already got total misfires. I don't need that one. I'm going to just delete it. Okay, so now we have pretty much all of our stuff set up. We're ready to go. We can run down the list here and see how we did. Do we need to make any changes? Spark correction, MBT advance, coolant advance, IAT advance, Vero advance, total misfires 0. Knock retard is all 0. I got one here. I got a half a degree, but that's nothing. That's probably noise. Short-term retard, you got a half a degree. Long-term retard, we have nothing. Knock sensor 1, you can see the colors. You can change them to whatever you want to. Customize them, make it whatever makes you happy. Knock sensor 2, nothing major there anyway. So knock sensors will spike. Usually if it's a bad knock, it's going to be above 2 volts. So this is like a half a volt there. And that's probably road noise. Well, we will log them down here later. But for now, that is, that's going to be good enough. I think we'll get into chart versus time on the next video. Alrighty, folks, you all take care. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video, which will be lesson 4. All right, thanks a lot. Like and subscribe, please.